It's finally here. After a year and a half, the dream child of Michael Felcher from Red Shirt Pictures, with a transfer from Don May of Synapse Films, comes the 1986 heavy metal horror classic, the Conan the Barbarian of heavy metal horror films, Trick or Treat. And this is to be a release to savor, for it comes from the man behind Red Shirt Pictures, who for decades has given us the best in behind the scenes horror documentaries. Starting with Anchor Bay and Blue Underground in the 1990s, he has since worked for over half the physical media boutique industry. I gotta say, if there's a dream job in the periphery of world cinema, it belongs to Michael Felcher. Don May, the would-be savior of Laserdisc, who, by founding Elite Entertainment, re-released some of the greatest Laserdisc, VHS, and DVDs to ever hit the market. Not just releases, but transfers. When it comes to transfers, the man is king. Later, he founded Synapse Films and released tremendous reissues of DVDs and Blu-rays and 4Ks. The man knows his shit. Over a year ago, we heard the news, and like the metaphor wildfire, it spread throughout the physical media horror community. Finally arriving in the mailboxes of long-term and short-term fans and the curious alike, the wait is now over. But before that, my life with Trick or Treat, 1986. My life with Trick or Treat began in September 1990. I had seen Lormar's VHS copy on video store shelves since 1988, but the thing with me was, in 1988, in order for me to love any music, any song, it had to be from a soundtrack of a motion picture. And it wasn't really until 89 I was open to heavy metal doing that for me. So by 1990, I was really primed. Holding up in my parents' living room underneath the glow of the 25-inch wood grain console television set, I was ready for my experience to begin. With me on this ride was a can of Coca-Cola, a bowl of salted lemons, and my first ever bag of barbecue flavored sunflower seeds. We were ready for my experience to begin. With that, I pressed play on the remote and I was transported to a world I actually already knew. Being born in 1979, I was well used to hearing about the evils of backmasking, as well of the evils of the record industry, and of course, the evils of rock and roll in general. Of course, in the 1980s, rock and roll was the going flavor for the entire decade. So the shrieks of disdain were omnipresent from older generations and those far removed from the rebellious delight of an effects pedal tapped electric guitar, long hair, black leather, and shredded denim. So the antagonist's complaints and sneers throughout the film did not fall on virgin ears. Now, in 1990, I was far removed from the rocker I would become at 13. The dreams were there, the ambition, but the truth was at the time I just did not have the sack or the wisdom to pull it off. After viewing the film several times over the weekend, that following Monday, the few kids at my junior high that expressed their love for heavy metal via their t-shirts, I viewed with slightly tinted lenses, but only for a moment. In my grade, fifth at the time, there were two kids that on the regular wore rock and roll t-shirts. The bands displayed regularly on a weekly basis were as follows: AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. Well, wisely, I looked to grades higher to find inspiration and possible conversation towards one of my new favorite films. I chose the big kids across the hallway where the seventh and eighth grades lay. There on a weekly basis, there was 6 or 7 boys and girls who would wear t-shirts on the regular that were sporting names like Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, Poison, and Skid Row. Now, Poison, no offense to Poison fans. I do like Talk Dirty to Me. That's a fantastic song. But Poison, no, I wouldn't be hitting those kids up. Skid Row, I'm a Skid Row fan, and no offense, Sebastian, but no. But the kids that were wearing the Ozzy Osbourne t-shirts and certainly the Motley Crue t-shirts, they might know something. So as the week progressed, I finally got my nerve up, and around the second or third day, I began asking around. Now, expletives will be deleted because I certainly heard a few. But most of the kids I talked to didn't have a clue about what I was talking about. They'd never seen the movie, never heard of the movie. What? Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons from Kiss are in a movie together? Oh, bullshit. Most didn't believe me. The few that were kind enough said, actually, you know what? That sounds like a really great movie. I'd love to see it, but no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. By the end of the week, I came to realize that the metalheads at my junior high didn't know much about their chosen subculture. We're talking about junior high kids here, none of which are old enough to obtain a driver's license, at the very best, a learner permit. Okay, they weren't going to go to any concerts, they weren't going to head out of town to the big city to experience the metal side of life. It just was not going to happen. So, what were these junior high metal kids going to do? Let's set the picture appropriately. In 1990, this town had a Walmart, a movie theater, thank goodness, three grocery stores. The only fast food chain in this town in 1990 was a Pizza Hut that had only been built the year before. This was truly a two stoplight town. And yet, the town had nine video rentals. That is, nine places where you could rent VHS, whether they be video boutiques, video store rentals, grocery stores, and or gas stations. Okay, but there was nine places where you could rent movies. Trick or Treat was a rental at four of these establishments. What were these kids thinking, man? Okay, in this town in 1990, you couldn't get MTV on cable. MTV was only offered in 2001. This is 1990, so MTV was not an option. Now, if your parents had a big ass satellite dish in the backyard, you could get it, but few kids had it. And a lot of the kids' parents didn't have cable. It was ABC, CBS, and NBC, PBS, and if you were really lucky and your parents had a really good aerial on top of the roof, you may be able to get a fuzzed out version of Fox. Okay, The Simpsons was all the rage, but a lot of kids didn't get to watch Fox. A lot of kids didn't have cable, and a lot of kids sure as shit didn't have satellite. So, what was their main form of entertainment, audio visual wise? Well, that's going to be renting movies, going to the mom and pop video stores. Now, like I said, Trick or Treat was at four of these places. And none of these kids that I talked to had ever seen it, even noticed it being there. Now, if I'm an aspiring young metalhead and I see video box art featuring a cool metal dude with an electric guitar and a demon above that, and I flip the box over and it says Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons are in this film, as well as, hey, Skippy, Mark Price from Family Ties. Hey, man, I'm renting this. This is going home with me. These kids didn't. Now, what was heavy metal to these kids? Was it just wearing the occasional metal t-shirt? Was it listening to their favorite cassettes on their Walkman, or more often than not, their generic Walkman? Uh, their parents gave them their antiquated hi-fi stereo, let them move it into their bedrooms, as long as they listen to the volume on low. Uh, they got a boombox. Again, turn it on low. So more often than not, the kids were listening to tapes in their Walkmans. They're more often than not Sony Walkmans, but generic Walkmans, because those were everywhere and readily available at a very affordable price. I own many myself, many. But yeah, how metal is that, man? I mean, the occasional T-shirt and popping in your favorite cassette tapes, drawing, scribbling in your notebook your favorite bands or bands you heard of. Uh, wow, how metal. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was dealing with. Okay. So, for all the metal youth that I never met, I salute you. I had a few friends. I would make sure that one day every one of them would see this film. Making my own copy in 91, I began doing that. Now, to be my friend in 91, you had to be at least open to watching horror films, if not an avid horror fan yourself. So they watched it, and they all loved it. They agreed with me. It was a fantastic flick, killer soundtrack. And it just so happened that by 1995, on one of my excursions at the local mall, an hour and a half away, local, I obtained my own copy of the Trick or Treat soundtrack by Fastway. I found that at Hastings, the definitive entertainment superstore, I was overjoyed. You see, I've been shopping at Hastings since 91, purchasing my favorite 80s soundtracks on cassette. And this was like the seventh or eighth I had obtained. So I was very happy to return home with this. This particular shopping day, I also picked up Guar, This Toilet Earth, but that's a story far removed from this one. Um, Man, if I was a different person, I would be embarrassed to admit how many times in my loft bedroom upstairs I mimicked Sammy Kerr during that Halloween dance party scene when he first shows up on stage and riffs into Trick or Treat. Uh, but I'm not. So it was dozens of times, shot for shot. I, I tried to pull off the Sammy Kerr and had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, Fastway did a fantastic soundtrack for CBS Records. It's a hell of a soundtrack. I was a little surprised to not find Houdini on the soundtrack, but then again, it wouldn't be a true Fastway album. So, but yeah, excellent soundtrack. Some people think that Fastway's first album is actually better. If you like your rock, if you like your rock music a bit more pop oriented, then I'm sure it is. But this is much closer to metal. Probably as metal as Fastway ever got. I don't think Fastway was ever actually a metal band, but they sure as shit tried to be for the soundtrack, and they pulled it off. Because if you take Fastway's music and you match it to Tony Field's performance of Sammy Kerr, it's perfect metal, man. It's perfect. It's just it's it. And it's one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, so I'm thrilled to have it. Of course, with this new release by Felcher, we're going to get the CD soundtrack with it, so I'll finally have the upgrade. I'll actually have it on CD instead of just bootleg CD copies and the official 1986 CBS release on cassette. So yeah, there's that. So years passed and into the next century. I had seen Trick or Treat well over 100 times. In 2004, my roommate and childhood friend came home from Walmart with a copy of Trick or Treat under his arm. Now, of course, this release was not a bootleg, but it was very much a underappreciated artifact from its initial release. I mean, this is a bare bones edition, and all you got to do is look at the cover and know it's a joke. I mean, it's all Photoshop. No love went into this re-release whatsoever. I mean, they used modern day pictures of Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne and just photoshopped some creepy shit for the backdrop of the cover. A letdown, a colossal letdown. However, the transfer of the DVD wasn't bad at all. So now, many years later, we celebrate this release, the second from Red Shirt Pictures, with an often perfect transfer done by Don May of Synapse Films. We have clear cause to rejoice. Wow. I haven't seen this film since late 2005, and that is a long time, but if memory serves, this is an awesome film, and I know as much love and care went into this re-release as the original release because a lot of love went into the script, the fine direction, the fantastic soundtrack, and the terrific acting. This is a hell of a great movie. We deserve to have this movie. And I myself am very happy to be owning it right here, right now. All right, I suppose that's it. But as Sammy Kerr said via Fastway, hold on to the night.